Hello, this is Marty Eddington, and today I'd like to tell you about my story of fighting a real spirit or entity or ghost. It goes back to the fall of 1975 when I was in college at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute in Troy, New York. And I had a friend, Sam, who was a graduate student who taught me about meditation and other psychic phenomena, and Mark. And there was a woman in the meditation class Sam taught that I was in who said her house was filled with spirits and she wanted to get rid of them. So one evening on a Friday in October, Mark and Sam and I took my car down the freeway to Albany, New York, which is about a 20-mile ride. And we brought several things. We brought a bottle of water that Sam had psychically treated to absorb any entity that got into it through the handle and the open cap there. We also brought cameras with infrared film and compasses. We wanted to measure as much as we could about what was in this house. So we went to the house about 7:30, 8 o'clock in the evening, and we used our hands to sense things, and we could sense hot and cold spots around the house. And then Sam opened the bottle at one point, and he remarked on how all these entities were being pulled into the bottle. And I was pretty new to all this, so I thought it was pretty much BS, but I kind of nodded my head. I didn't really think much more of it. By the way, the idea of bringing all this stuff into the bottle was to take it back to campus and measure it with nuclear magnetic resonance to see if the water had changed. Well, so we finished the house. Sam said it was cleared. And then we went to visit his friend Carolyn. Now, I should mention, Sam is blind. He's a blind psychic physicist. And we went to visit his friend Carolyn, who lived a little bit away. And we went to her place. She's also blind and has a seeing eye dog. And we got there probably 11 at night. And we ordered pizza. We brought the bottle up. And the dog wouldn't go anywhere near the bottle. Mark and Sam looked in the bottle and they said it was fizzing, and I didn't see any of that. But we had the bottle with us, and it was a bottle about, I'd say, a foot wide and a foot or two tall. It was plastic. So about 12:30, 1 o'clock, we finally left Carolyn's place, got in my car, and started driving back to RPI on the freeway. And this is when things got really weird. So I ran out of gas. My gas gauge didn't work too well, and I ran out of gas, and we had to stop on the side of the freeway at like 1:30 in the morning. And I flagged down a car with a gas tank can and went to get some gas. When I got back, Mark and Sam were all hyper because they said when I'd gone, rocks had started flying against the car, and they felt there was some type of entity there, and they were really scared. And I thought, look, it's all BS. We've just had a long, exhausting evening, and that's all it is. So I put the gas in the car and got in and started driving. Now, Mark and Sam were sitting in the back seat with a bottle. And even though I didn't think it was a real problem with any type of entity, I started feeling like there was an entity hanging in the air, looking over my shoulder. It's a weird feeling. And they started claiming it was attacking them. And I said, just calm down, just calm down. There's nothing going on. We're just all hyper about this. So we got back to Troy, where you cross a bridge to go up the hill. We crossed the bridge and we're heading up the hill. And as we're heading up the hill, I felt this thing surround my head. And they were like piercing inside my brain. This thing was trying to attack me. That's the only way I can describe it. And I yelled and almost lost control of the car. There was a light rain, and I managed to get it back under control and pulled up next to a storm drain. Sam and Mark were also yelling. They said this thing was attacking them too. Apparently, whatever we had absorbed into the bottle at the house was a real entity, and it was very angry. So I got out of the car. I took the bottle from them. I drained it down the drain and then kicked the bottle in. This was like 3 a.m., I think. And then we got back to Sam's house and we were all hyper paranoid. We didn't believe it had happened, but it happened. We called a friend of Sam's who was a priest, and he gave us blessings, and we tried to calm down. We didn't sleep at all that night. So I went back to my apartment and I tried to go to sleep, and I felt like there was this thing hovering out there trying to get to me. And all the time this went on, for weeks and weeks, I felt like this thing was out there to get me. And I finally ended up with a psychic fight in my head with whatever it was, and it went away. So that's pretty much an overview of the story. I know it's hard to believe. I've never had anything similar to this happen to me before or since. But it's made me a believer in spiritual entities, and I'll have other videos talking about that. And it's in my book called The Reality of Ghosts and Spirits on my website, MKettingtonbooks.com, under the paranormal category. So it was true, it was real. I'm not crazy. It really happened to me and 2 other people. And that's the story. Thanks for listening.